God has a plan you haven't seen yet, but He needs you to respond. Open this before the window closes tonight. My beloved child, tonight the veil is thinner than you realize, and the heavens are pressing close. Archangel Michael is standing beside you with a message that feels urgent, alive, and almost trembling in the air. God has a plan you haven't seen yet, and the moment you open this, you stepped into the edge of that divine unfolding. There is a window, a spiritual opening, hovering over your life right now. It is not ordinary. It is not random. It is not accidental. Heaven has been watching the weight on your heart, the confusion, the silence, the waiting, the questions you whisper when you think no one is listening. And tonight, the answer finally moves. A hidden plan, God's plan, has been forming in the unseen, built piece by piece while you felt like nothing was moving. Every tear, every delay, every lonely night has been woven into something far greater than the struggle that produced it. Archangel Michael says the timing is not late, you were being positioned. But now the positioning is complete. Something is shifting around you. A rearrangement, a reversal, a revelation. And the heavens are asking for one thing: your response. Not your perfection, not your strength, not your certainty, just your yes. You've been sensing something lately, haven't you? A strange pull in your spirit, a quiet nudge, a holy pressure that you can't explain. That is not imagination. Michael says that was the first signal that the spiritual window was opening. Feel this carefully. God is not asking you to figure out the entire path. He's asking you to step into the next moment with trust. Because tonight is not like any other night. There is a closing happening in the spirit realm. Not a punishment, an opportunity, a divine countdown. So we're led to this message because you are standing in front of a door that will not stay open forever. A door that leads to alignment. A door that leads to answers. A door that leads to restoration, clarity, healing, and the kind of breakthrough you stopped praying for because it hurt too much to hope for it. Michael is guarding that door, and he is telling you, respond while the door is open. Pause for a moment and breathe. Feel the atmosphere around you. Your soul knows something is happening. Your heart knows this is not just another message. Listen closely. God has been preparing a move that will shift the direction of your life drastically, beautifully, unexpectedly. You have been waiting for proof, but heaven is waiting for your posture. Your spirit is being asked to align before the manifestation arrives. This is why the spiritual tension around you has been strong. This is why you felt pulled in two directions. This is why you felt the urge to clean your heart, your space, your connections. Because God is preparing to deliver something that cannot land in a cluttered soul. Michael says, your preparation was not wasted. Your waiting was not empty. Your tears were not unseen. You were being shaped for what is arriving. But hear this with seriousness. Heaven opens windows, not hallways. Windows require timing. Windows require response. Windows require decision. Tonight, before this window closes, you are being invited to step into agreement with the plan God has been hiding for your protection. And yes, you were protected. The delays protected you. The silence protected you. The closed doors protected you. The people who walked away protected you. Even the loneliness protected you. Because the plan God has for you required clarity of heart and strength of spirit. You are ready now. Take this message as a sign that heaven has reached into your timeline. Something is being activated. Something is being released. Something is being rearranged. and what is coming will explain everything you went through to get here. Hold on, because the next revelation is the one you've been waiting for. This is where it gets intense. Type "I align with heaven" in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 441 has just been released. Dearest soul, as you step further into this unfolding message, the atmosphere begins to shift around you. Archangel Michael stands closer now, not as a distant guardian, but as a warrior who has been walking beside you in battles you never even knew you were fighting. He whispers that the plan God has prepared for you has layers you have not yet uncovered. Some of those layers were hidden to protect you from premature exposure, and some were hidden to strengthen the parts of you that were not yet ready to carry what is coming. Tonight, the revelation deepens, and your spirit is being invited to rise into a clarity that will make sense of the journey you've survived. You may not remember every moment you cried, but heaven does. You may not recall every night you felt forgotten, but the angels were surrounding you through all of them. What you saw as delay was actually divine timing. What you thought was abandonment was actually alignment. Michael wants you to understand something essential right now. None of this has been random. Your story has been guided, measured, and refined with precision. Every closed door kept you from stepping into something that would have distracted you from your calling. Every person who left created space for a divine replacement. Every emotional storm gave you spiritual muscle. You have become someone stronger than you know, and heaven has been preparing you for a moment that rests just ahead. But before that moment arrives, you must understand the depth of the spiritual transition you are in. This is not just a season shift. This is not just a moment of clarity. This is a spiritual relocation. Something in your life is being uprooted and replanted. A divine exchange is taking place. You are leaving behind the energy of confusion, hesitation, and delay, and stepping into a realm of purpose that is sharper, cleaner, and more aligned than anything you have walked in before. Even now, as you listen, your spirit feels the truth of this. Something inside you has already begun to prepare. The old fears are loosening their grip. The old doubts are losing their power. The old wounds are losing their voice. You are stepping quietly, but powerfully, into the next expression of who God has been shaping you to become. Understand this clearly. God is not just giving you blessings. He is giving you assignments. Archangel Michael reveals that heaven has been entrusting you with spiritual responsibility, even when you felt unworthy or unprepared. The weight you felt was not heaviness. It was spiritual sensitivity. The pressure you felt was not punishment. It was preparation. The urge to isolate was not weakness. It was a divine pulling away from distractions. You are being set apart for what is coming. You may wonder why God hid the plan from you for so long. Michael answers that question directly, because if you had seen the full picture too early, you would have tried to hold on to people, situations, and habits that could never follow you into your destiny. Heaven needed you free. Heaven needed you clear. Heaven needed you open. So God allowed certain things to fade, certain connections to shift, and certain seasons to end so that you could step into this one without compromise. There is something powerful happening around your name right now. Heaven is organizing opportunities. Doors that were shut are unlocking. Conversations that were delayed are resurfacing. Paths that seemed blocked are beginning to open in ways you could not orchestrate on your own. Michael says the orchestration is divine, because the assignment ahead requires divine placement. You cannot manipulate your way into this season. You cannot force it. You cannot rush it. You can only align with it. This is why your response matters. God is calling for movement from you. Not frantic movement, but obedient movement. Your next step does not need to be perfect. It just needs to be honest. Heaven is not waiting for you to know everything. Heaven is waiting for your spirit to say, I'm ready. God has a plan hidden in the folds of this very moment, and something is activating as your heart leans in. When God calls, your readiness opens doors that your strength never could. Michael wants you to pay attention to the thoughts and signs that have been circling you lately. You've been receiving hints. A specific number keeps appearing. Conversation recently stirred something in your heart. A dream carried meaning you couldn't shake. A sudden memory brought clarity you didn't fully understand. These were not coincidences. They were heavenly breadcrumbs. They were signals pointing you toward the direction God is guiding you. You may feel like the shift is subtle, but in the spirit, it is monumental. Michael says the battlefield around your destiny has been active, but victory has already been declared. The reason you've felt spiritual resistance is because something is being birthed in your life, and the opposition knows what is coming before you do. But hear this clearly. Darkness has no authority over what God has ordained. What is meant for you cannot be stolen. What is coming to you cannot be delayed any longer. You are stepping into promise, and heaven is reinforcing your path. As you move deeper into this message, trust the alignment that is forming. Trust the doors that open. Trust the ones that close. Trust the timing. Trust the stirring within you. And trust that God has not led you to this moment without purpose. You are on the edge of revelation. The next piece of this divine message will shake your understanding and bring clarity to questions you've carried for years. Before you move away, pause for a moment. The next part will bring illumination you weren't expecting. Wait for it, this is about to intensify. Type I walk with heaven's timing in the comments if this is speaking to you. Blessing code 558 is now activated. My cherished one, as you step into this next unfolding, the spiritual air around you becomes even more charged. Archangel Michael is not only standing near you now, he is actively clearing the atmosphere, pushing back forces that tried to confuse your vision and weaken your resolve. He says you have reached a turning point in this divine message, a moment where hidden instructions begin to rise to the surface. The plan God has for you is no longer simply moving toward you. It is now intersecting with your present moment, waiting for your awareness to catch up with what heaven has already released. You are walking into revelation, and this revelation has weight, purpose, and divine urgency stitched into every part of it. You have been sensing a shift inside your spirit, a restlessness that didn't feel like anxiety but felt like readiness. That is because heaven has been whispering to you in ways you didn't realize. God has been stirring your spirit with subtle signals. The sudden overwhelming feeling that something new is coming. The unexpected urge to clean your space or isolate for clarity. The desire to disconnect from draining connections. Even the strange inner pull towards certain decisions that you couldn't explain logically. All of these were divine nudges. Heaven has been preparing you for something that arrives not through force, but through alignment. And you are aligning now, right here, in this moment. Michael wants you to understand that the window God opened for you is not a passive opportunity. It is an appointed moment in your timeline. A crossing point. A divine intersection. If you feel like your awareness has sharpened in the past few days, it is because your spirit knows something is approaching. You may not see it yet with your physical eyes, but your spiritual senses have already detected the movement. Heaven is orchestrating something that will make you look back and say, so this is why everything happened the way it did. Every delay had a purpose. Every closed path had a reason. Every disappointment had a divine function. God was not trying to hurt you. He was trying to align you. And now, in this moment, Michael reveals the next layer of heaven's plan. God is about to reposition you. This repositioning may come through a shift in relationships, an unexpected opportunity, a sudden insight, or an internal awakening that changes how you see everything. You may feel something being rearranged within you, and that rearrangement is heaven making room for what is about to land in your life. This is not small or subtle. This is restructuring. This is divine correction. This is spiritual recalibration. You are stepping into a timeline designed specifically for your calling. The resistance you've been feeling recently was not a sign that things were going wrong. It was a sign that things were getting close. Darkness always fights the hardest when light is about to break through. Michael has been battling on your behalf, and he says the warfare has already shifted in your favor. What felt heavy will soon feel clear. What felt blocked will soon feel possible. What felt confusing will soon feel purposeful. You are stepping out of one spiritual atmosphere and crossing into another, and you can feel the difference if you listen closely. God is not just changing your situation. He is changing your position inside the situation. There is something specific heaven needs from you right now. Openness. Not fear, not hesitation, not overthinking. Openness. God is placing new instructions into your spirit. These instructions may come as sudden clarity, an idea that refuses to leave your mind, a conviction that rises from within, or a sense that a certain chapter is ending, so a new one can unfold. Whatever it is, it will not feel like pressure. It will feel like direction. You are not being pushed. You are being guided. Heaven is not forcing you. Heaven is inviting you. And because this divine plan is time-sensitive, Michael emphasizes that your response matters deeply. Not because God needs your perfection, but because your obedience activates what heaven has already prepared. You are not being asked to understand everything, only to trust. You are not being asked to see the entire staircase, only to take the next step. God has already gone ahead of you. The path is not forming as you walk. The path has been waiting for you to walk. You are stepping into something that has been promised, protected, and preserved. But before this blessing reaches you, something sacred must be released from your spirit. The idea that you are behind, forgotten, or overlooked. Michael says you have been exactly where you needed to be for this moment to arrive. You did not miss anything. You did not fall out of alignment. You did not lose your timing. Heaven is too intentional for that. Everything you've gone through has prepared your heart to recognize the next divine assignment when it appears. And now the divine tension in the atmosphere is rising. Something is building. Something is approaching. Something is preparing to break open. You are being positioned for revelation, so timely, so personal, so aligned that it will shift how you see God's involvement in your life. Stay with this message, because the next unfolding carries clarity that you have been praying for silently, privately, and sometimes with tears. Wait for the shift. It is closer than you think, and the next words will open your spirit even wider. Before you move forward, support this mission by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It helps this prophetic word reach those who desperately need it. Type "I honor God's timing for my life" in the comments if this part is awakening something in you. Blessing code 992 is released over you now. When God opens a window, He calls His people to help carry the light to those still walking in darkness. Every seed you sow here becomes oil and the lamp of someone praying for clarity, someone crying for a sign, someone needing the very message you are listening to now. Heaven speaks of rivers, not reservoirs. What flows through you multiplies into harvest for others. When God declares, "You are my vessel," your support becomes a prophetic act that unlocks breakthrough in places you may never see with your eyes, but will feel in eternity. I'm inviting you, person to person, spirit to spirit, to stand with this mission as we carry God's warning, God's comfort, and God's direction to souls across the world. If this word has stirred you, then let your giving be your answer to heaven's call in this moment. Your seed will return to you as clarity, strength, and divine protection. Move now with obedience. Use super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description. Heaven honors doers, not watchers. My radiant soul, as we move deeper into this divine unfolding, the spiritual tension around you becomes even more unmistakable. Archangel Michael steps forward again, and his presence carries a weight that signals the seriousness of what heaven is preparing to reveal. He says you are now crossing into the part of this message where understanding begins to merge with destiny, where revelation stops being something you observe and starts being something you embody. God's plan for you is not a distant idea floating in the future. It is something rising inside you, even now, like a quiet fire you didn't know was already lit. What you feel stirring in your spirit is confirmation that heaven has initiated a shift in your timeline, and this shift will not pass you by. You have been sensing that certain chapters of your life were beginning to feel incomplete, like doors you no longer had the energy to keep knocking on. That was not boredom or fatigue. It was heaven closing out an old season. What once felt familiar now feels heavy because it is no longer yours. Michael reveals that you have outgrown certain emotional patterns, certain environments, and even certain thoughts you once believed were permanent. You have expanded spiritually, even in moments when you felt stuck. You have matured in ways you didn't recognize. Your spirit has grown faster than your circumstances, and now your circumstances must catch up. This is why you've been feeling an inner pull towards something different. It is not random. It is not your imagination. It is the voice of destiny calling you forward. God has been preparing a place for you, and though you do not see it yet, your spirit has already begun walking toward it. The tug you feel in your chest, the subtle excitement mixed with uncertainty, the quiet awareness that change is necessary, all of this is heaven whispering, "Move with me." You are not being asked to leap blindly. You are being asked to follow the path God has already secured for you. Michael wants you to notice something very important. Recently, you have been questioning certain relationships, certain responsibilities, and even certain dreams. Not because you are confused, but because your spirit is outgrowing what once fit. When the next phase of your calling approaches, anything misaligned begins to feel uncomfortable. Heaven is adjusting your inner world first so your outer world can follow without chaos. The uneasiness, the restlessness, the quiet dissatisfaction, they are not signs of failure. They are signs of transition. God is pulling you toward what is meant for you. You are not losing stability. You are gaining clarity. You are not stepping away from something safe. You are stepping towards something ordained. Michael says the reason you felt spiritual heaviness in the last season was not because you were failing, but because you were being refined. Every spiritual warrior goes through seasons of stripping before stepping into seasons of assignment. And you are in the final moments of that stripping now. Heaven has removed what cannot travel with you. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. There is a divine detail Michael wants you to catch. The plan God has for you involves people, places, and opportunities that are already aligned with your purpose. Nothing that is meant for you will require you to shrink, hide, compromise, or beg. What is yours will meet you with confirmation, not confusion. What God sends will bring peace, not pressure. What heaven ordains will feel like alignment, not exhaustion. The plan ahead of you is built on clarity. God does not guide his children into fog. He guides them into purpose. and the purpose ahead of you carries more weight than you realize. You are being positioned for an assignment that will not only shift your life, but shift the lives of those connected to you. Your breakthrough is not for you alone. It will break cycles in your family. It will heal wounds in your lineage. It will create pathways for those who come after you. You are not just stepping into destiny. You are becoming a generational turning point. Heaven has chosen you for this because heaven trusts you with this. Michael says heaven is getting ready to release a revelation that will make your next steps undeniably clear. You will not have to force it. You will not have to guess. You will not have to push. The confirmation will come suddenly, boldly, unmistakably. Something in your heart will click into place. Something in your spirit will recognize the sign. The waiting will make sense. The pain will have purpose. And the plan God hid from you will finally begin to unfold before your eyes. But before that revelation arrives, heaven is asking you to remain sensitive. Pay attention to the whispers, the nudges, the sudden waves of intuition that rise without warning. Pay attention to dreams that carry weight. Pay attention to conversations that stir your spirit. Pay attention to opportunities that feel strangely timed. Heaven speaks quietly, but consistently. God has already begun talking to you. Your spirit has already been hearing him, even if your mind has been trying to catch up. You are not alone in this. Michael walks with you, clearing your path, protecting your spirit, strengthening your resolve. He says the next part of this message carries an intensity that will activate something deep inside you. What comes next will expose the spiritual shift happening behind the scenes, a shift that is preparing to manifest in ways you did not expect. Hold steady. The next revelation is approaching, and you will not want to miss it. Before you scroll, breathe. You are about to step into something powerful. Type "I receive what heaven is preparing" in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 774 is now released over your path. My chosen soul, as we step into this next unveiling, something significant begins to move in the unseen. Archangel Michael draws near with a firmness in his presence that signals the seriousness of where this message is now leading you. He says you have reached a spiritual threshold, a moment where heaven is no longer simply preparing you, but actively shifting what surrounds you. This is the phase where divine patterns begin aligning with earthly circumstances, where what God has orchestrated in silence begins to echo into your reality. You may not realize it yet, but your life is already responding to a spiritual transition that started the moment you opened this message. Heaven has been waiting for this engagement, because each word is unlocking clarity in you that will serve as the foundation for what comes next. Michael wants you to understand that you have recently stepped out of a spiritual fog. You may not have noticed the exact moment it lifted, but you have felt the difference in small ways. An unusual clarity in your thoughts, a surprising burst of peace, a returning spark of hope you thought had been crushed. These subtle inner shifts were not coincidences. They were signs that heaven has cleared something that once clouded your vision. God has been breaking off old patterns that no longer serve your purpose. He has been removing illusions, stripping away false attachments, and uncovering truths you needed in order to rise. You are seeing more clearly now, not because the world changed, but because you change. This inner clarity is crucial because God is guiding you toward a decision that will shape the next part of your story. Not a decision born of fear or desperation, but one born of spiritual maturity. Heaven is preparing to place something in your hands, a responsibility, a revelation, a new direction, and you must be able to discern it when it arrives. Michael says your discernment is being sharpened like the edge of a sword. You are becoming more sensitive to what is aligned and what is not. You are beginning to feel the difference between what drains you and what grows you, what distracts you and what calls you, what keeps you stagnant and what pushes you toward destiny. This discernment is not accidental. It is preparation for the doorway you are approaching. You may have noticed recently that certain situations feel heavier than before. Interactions that once felt normal now feel draining. Environments that once felt comfortable now feel restrictive. Conversations that once satisfied you now feel empty. This heaviness is the signal that your spirit has outgrown those spaces. You cannot remain in places your spirit has already left. When God elevates your inner world, your outer world must eventually shift to match it. You are in the early stages of that shift. This is why the old no longer feels right. Heaven is preparing to move you forward. Michael reveals another layer. Your calling has been stirring. You have felt impulses toward new possibilities, new directions, maybe even dreams you abandoned long ago. These impulses are sacred. They are echoes of destiny resurfacing. God is awakening something in you that has been dormant. He is reminding you of who you are, who you were created to be, and what you are capable of when you walk in alignment with Him. These stirrings are not random. They are signals that your next assignment is drawing close. There is a reason you have felt isolated at times. Heaven often separates a person before elevating them. God needed your heart quiet enough to hear Him. He needed your spirit undistracted. He needed your attention uncluttered. The people who drifted away, the conversations that fell silent, the opportunities that dissolved, none of it was abandonment. It was divine filtering. God removed what could not travel with you into the next chapter. You were not being pushed away from people. You were being pulled closer to purpose. Michael says the next move God makes in your life will require courage, but the courage you need is already being built inside you. You will not have to force yourself into boldness. You will feel an inner strength rise at the exact moment you need it. Heaven equips you before it assigns you. This is why you have survived things that should have broken you. This is why you found strength in moments when you had none left. This is why you kept moving when your heart felt heavy. You were being shaped for what is coming. God's plan for you is approaching with precision. The timing is intentional. Nothing has been delayed. Nothing is late. Everything is synchronized. You may not see the movement yet, but heaven is aligning circumstances, people, and opportunities around you like pieces of a divine puzzle. What once felt scattered is coming together. What once felt impossible is taking form. What once felt distant is drawing closer. Your breakthrough is aligning itself with your obedience. Michael wants you to pay attention to the way your spirit reacts in the coming days. You may feel sudden conviction, sudden clarity, sudden release, or sudden peace. You may sense that something is ending or something is beginning. These inner shifts are communication from heaven. Do not ignore what your spirit is telling you. God is guiding you through impressions, through intuition, through inner knowing. Your spirit will catch the message before your mind understands it. You are being prepared for a moment of divine instruction, a moment where God will reveal your next step with unmistakable clarity. When that moment arrives, it will settle in your heart like truth. You always knew. This next step will not feel forced. It will feel inevitable. It will feel like alignment. It will feel like something your spirit has been waiting for all along. Stay close to this message, because the next unfolding will open your understanding even further. You are approaching the revelation that ties everything together. Hold steady, because what comes next carries direction your spirit has been craving. Trust me, you will want to see what unfolds. Type "I am ready for God's revealing" in the comments if this part is awakening your spirit. Blessing code 663 is released over your life now. My beloved soul, as you move into this next sacred unfolding, the spiritual tone around you shifts once again. Archangel Michael steps forward with a solemn strength, the kind that only appears when heaven is preparing to reveal something weighty, something timely, something that has been protected in the unseen until this very moment. He says you are entering the portion of this message where the plan God has for you becomes more personal, more direct, and more intertwined with the very structure of your life. The unseen threads that have been pulling at your heart, the inner restlessness you could not explain, the strange sense that something is coming. These were not coincidences. They were signals. Heaven has been preparing your spirit for an unveiling that requires readiness, sensitivity, and a heart willing to move when the divine instruction comes. You have been walking through a season of spiritual recalibration. At times, it felt as though you were losing balance, losing direction, or losing passion. But Michael reveals that what felt like instability was actually refinement. Heaven was burning away what was unnecessary. God was stripping away distractions that diluted your focus. You were not losing clarity, you were gaining precision. And now, as the fog lifts and the inner noise quiets, you are finally able to hear what heaven has been trying to tell you for months. God's plan for you is entering its next phase. This next phase requires more than observation. It requires participation. You cannot simply watch from the outside. You cannot remain in old patterns while stepping into new purpose. Michael says your spirit has already begun to shift, even if you are still catching up mentally. The way old conversations no longer move you, the way certain situations feel heavier than before, the way some connections now feel out of place. This is evidence that heaven has elevated your inner world. Your environment must now follow that elevation, and heaven is preparing to make that happen. There is something essential Michael wants you to grasp. God has not been silent with you. He has been speaking through signs, impulses, dreams, and sudden insights. Think of the moments when you felt unexpectedly emotional, even if nothing significant happened. Think of the nights when you felt a strange pull to pray or reflect. Think of the sudden clarity that hit you during a random moment. These were divine communications. Heaven has been whispering direction into your spirit, laying foundations within you so that when the revelation arrives, you will recognize it instantly. You may have wondered why certain people drifted away, why certain opportunities dissolved, or why certain desires inside you shifted. Michael says the reason is simple. Heaven is making room. You cannot carry old weight into a new season. You cannot step into destiny while attached to what was meant only for your past. God is removing what you no longer need so that He can place into your life what you were always meant to hold. This pruning was not punishment. It was alignment. You may not realize it yet, but you are stronger than you were last year, last month, even last week. Your spirit has gained depth. Your discernment has sharpened. Your emotional resilience has fortified. And heaven has taken note. The battles you faced were not unnoticed. The tears you cried were not ignored. Every moment of endurance became part of your preparation. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was meaningless. You were being molded into someone capable of carrying the revelation that now approaches. Michael says there is an upcoming moment where God will reveal a shift in your path. It may come as a sudden opportunity, a new connection, a strong conviction, or a powerful inner knowing that you cannot ignore. This is not something you will have to chase. It will come with clarity. It will feel right. It will feel timely. It will feel like something in your spirit clicks into place. Heaven is making sure you do not miss this divine cue. When the moment comes, your heart will recognize it before your mind fully understands it. This revelation will not only show you what is next, it will expose when the last chapter unfolded the way it did. You will look back and understand the purpose behind the patience, the delays, the disappointments, and the redirections. God hid certain things from you not to confuse you, but to protect you. Had you seen the fullness of His plan too early, you may have tried to build with people who weren't meant to walk with you or chase opportunities that would have derailed your calling. Heaven protects purpose by concealing timing until the heart is ready. Michael emphasizes that your readiness is not accidental. Something recently shifted inside you. Your desire to heal, your hunger for clarity, your willingness to change, your openness to divine instruction. These were signs that you crossed into spiritual maturity. You are not the same person who struggled in past seasons. You are more aligned, more aware, more spiritually awake. And now heaven can release what was once withheld. But as this revelation approaches, Michael gives one instruction. Remain sensitive. Pay attention to the shifts in your spirit. Pay attention to sudden moments of conviction. Pay attention to unexpected peace or unexpected discomfort. Pay attention to what your heart is drawn toward and what it is quietly withdrawing from. These are messages. These are guideposts. Heaven is speaking through them. You are standing on sacred ground. What comes next will not simply change your direction, it will awaken your destiny. Before this next unveiling arrives, breathe and steady your heart. You are closer than you realize, and the next part of this message will open your understanding even more. Hold on, for the revelation that follows is one you have been spiritually longing for. Type "I am open to heaven's next instruction" in the comments if this part is stirring your spirit. Blessing code 818 is now released over your journey. My awakened soul, as you enter this next unveiling, the atmosphere around you deepens with an almost electric intensity. Archangel Michael stands firmly at your side, and his presence carries the unmistakable force of a guardian who knows what is approaching your life. He says you are stepping into the part of this divine message where heaven begins to reveal the inner mechanics of your transformation. What was once hidden behind spiritual curtains is beginning to show its shape. God is preparing to move, not in the distant future, but in the unfolding present. This is why your spirit has felt unusual pressure, unusual sensitivity, and unusual anticipation. You are crossing into alignment with a divine timeline that has been protected, preserved, and timed with precision. Michael says that in the last few days or weeks, you may have felt a strange sense of emotional stretching. Moments where your heart suddenly swelled with hope, only for fear to try to creep in. Moments where your clarity would rise sharply, and then fade unexpectedly. Moments where your desire for change felt almost overwhelming. These fluctuations were not instability, they were spiritual contractions. Heaven has been preparing to birth something through you, something that requires both strength and surrender. Every emotional wave you felt was part of this preparation. Heaven was softening the old and making room for the new. You have also been noticing a shift in the way you interpret things. Situations that once triggered frustration now bring understanding. Conflicts that once drained you now reveal truth. Delays that once felt punishing now feel purposeful. This is a sign that your spiritual maturity is rising. You are beginning to see through the eyes of destiny rather than through the eyes of fear. This inner shift is not small. It is monumental. It is evidence that your spirit has stepped into a new level of perception, one that matches the magnitude of what God is preparing to release. Michael reveals something deeply important. The warfare around you increased not because something was going wrong, but because something was getting close. When heaven prepares to release breakthrough, the unseen realm reacts. The resistance you felt was confirmation. The heaviness you sensed was the pressure of spiritual movement. The strange tension in your surroundings was the sound of old spiritual structures breaking. You were not being attacked for weakness. You were being attacked for potential. You were moving closer to purpose, and darkness always trembles when someone steps into clarity. But hear this clearly. The warfare is shifting now. Michael says the tide has turned. Your prayers, even the quiet ones you whispered through tears, have been heard. Your endurance has been counted. Your faithfulness, even in moments when you felt faith slipping, has been honored. Heaven has not overlooked a single moment of your struggle. And now, because you have remained open, because you have continued to seek understanding, because you have continued to listen, you are being ushered into a moment of divine guidance that will change your trajectory. There is something coming that requires your awareness. A conversation, an opportunity, a decision, a moment of clarity, a sudden revelation. It will appear without warning, but arrive with unmistakable accuracy. This moment will serve as the pivot point between where you have been and where you are going. Heaven is aligning circumstances, arranging details, and adjusting your path so that you do not miss this divine intersection. Michael says you will feel it in your spirit before it physically appears. Your heart will recognize it instantly. This is why God needed you sensitive. This is why He cleared your atmosphere. This is why certain people could no longer remain connected to you. This is why certain distractions were removed. You were not being abandoned. You were being positioned. Heaven needed your mind quiet enough, your heart open enough, and your spirit awake enough to catch what is coming. And you are ready now. Even if you feel uncertain, heaven sees readiness in you that you have not fully acknowledged. You are prepared for the shift. Michael says the next part of this message will expose something deeper, the reason behind your long season of preparation. Many of your unanswered questions will find clarity. Many of your long-standing battles will reveal their meaning. Many of your private struggles will make sense in ways you never imagined. Heaven is going to show you not only what God is doing, but why He timed it this way. You are about to understand your own story on a higher level. So breathe for a moment. Let your spirit settle. The next revelation will expand your understanding and draw you even closer to divine alignment. Hold on, because you are walking into a truth you were meant to receive at this exact moment in your life. Trust me, what unfolds next will illuminate so much. Type "I am ready for the shift" in the comments if this resonates with your spirit. Blessing code 335 is now released upon your journey. My dear rising soul, as we step into this next unveiling, the spiritual atmosphere around you becomes even heavier with purpose. Archangel Michael stands with a deliberate stillness beside you now, and his silence is not emptiness. It is reverence for what heaven is preparing to reveal. He says you have arrived at a turning point in this message, a moment where the divine plan you could not see begins to take form, where the hidden blueprint of your journey starts to unfold in ways that awaken deeper understanding within you. God has been orchestrating something behind the scenes, something precise, powerful, and tied directly to the shaping of your destiny. Even now, your spirit can sense that something is nearing completion and something new is preparing to rise. Michael reveals that in the past season, you experienced internal conflict that felt almost like two versions of yourself pulling in different directions. One part of you longed for change, while another clung to familiarity. One part of you expressed faith, while another held hidden fear. One part of you felt ready for breakthrough, while another felt unworthy of it. Heaven saw this struggle, not as weakness, but as the final stage of spiritual refining. God was preparing you to release the identity that was built by survival, so you could step into the identity built for purpose. The tension inside you was not a sign of confusion. It was a sign of transformation. You may have wondered why certain things you once tolerated suddenly became unbearable. Why certain conversations drained you faster than before. Why certain environments felt heavy. Why certain dreams refused to stay suppressed no matter how hard you tried to ignore them. Michael says these reactions were spiritual indicators, signs that your spirit had stepped into a higher frequency while your circumstances had not yet caught up. You were being spiritually upgraded. And as the upgrade became complete, everything misaligned began to feel uncomfortable. This was heaven's way of guiding you toward the path that matches who you are becoming. God is getting ready to reveal to you something specific, something that will shift the lens through which you view your entire journey. This revelation will not come to you as fear, confusion, or pressure. It will come as clarity. It will come as a moment of undeniable inner recognition. It will come as a knowing that settles so deeply in your spirit that you will not question whether it is God's voice. Heaven speaks in alignment, not chaos. Michael says the clarity that is approaching you will remove the layers of doubt, hesitation, and second guessing that once clouded your decisions. You will know exactly what to do, and the peace that follows will confirm it. There is also something else you must understand. The reason you had to wait as long as you did was because God was preparing everything around you to match the person you were becoming. You cannot receive a destiny-sized blessing with a survival-sized mindset. You cannot step into calling while standing in fear. You cannot embrace purpose while holding onto wounds. Heaven needed you healed enough, aware enough, surrendered enough, and bold enough to receive what is coming without sabotaging it. And now, because you have allowed your spirit to be stretched, refined, and awakened, heaven can release the timing that was once withheld. Michael says that in the days ahead, you may feel an increase in sensitivity. Not emotional fragility, but spiritual awareness. You may pick up on things around you more quickly than before. You may feel intuitive nudges that seem stronger than usual. You may notice signs repeating themselves with unusual consistency. Pay attention to these. They are not random. Heaven is amplifying your spiritual senses because you are approaching a divine crossroads. The choices you make here will shape the next era of your life, and heaven wants you fully tuned in. But hear this clearly, you are not heading into uncertainty. You are heading into alignment. You are stepping into a season where the timing, the clarity, the resources, the connections, and the opportunities converge. God is not sending you into confusion. He is guiding you into readiness. A shift that is approaching your life is not fragile. It is anchored in heaven. Michael says that what God is preparing to reveal will bring a level of peace you have not felt in years. Not temporary comfort, but deep, stabilizing peace that aligns your steps and strengthens your spirit. You will soon look back at your journey with new understanding. The heartbreaks will make sense. The delays will reveal their purpose. The losses will show their hidden protection. What once felt like unanswered questions will become stepping stones to revelation. You are walking into an era of divine explanation, and the truth that is coming will free you from burdens you've carried far too long. Before we continue to what comes next, pause for a moment. The next unveiling holds an intensity your spirit needs time to absorb. What is approaching is sacred, and heaven wants your heart fully open for it. Wait for it, because the revelation ahead is going to illuminate your path more clearly than anything you've received so far. Type "I stand in God's alignment" in the comments if this is resonating in your spirit. Blessing code 448 is now released over your atmosphere. Now, before we move forward, like this message, share it so others can receive their confirmation. Leave your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to stay connected to every unfolding that heaven is revealing through this mission. This moment is holy because when God opens a window of revelation, He calls His people to stand together as carriers of His light. Every seed you sow here becomes a beam of hope for someone who is praying desperately for direction, someone who feels abandoned, someone whose spirit is on the edge of awakening. The Spirit speaks of rivers of living water, not stagnant pools. What flows into you is meant to flow through you, multiplying its impact. When God whispers through this message, He is not only speaking to you, He is reaching through you to touch countless others. And so I speak this over you. What you give today becomes a prophetic act, a seed that God Himself breathes upon, returning to you as wisdom, protection, and breakthrough. I'm inviting you, with the authority of heaven's call, to rise and support this mission through super thanks, through membership, or through the PayPal link in the description. This is not charity. This is obedience. Step into it with boldness, for heaven rewards those who move when God speaks. My treasured soul, as you step into this next part of the unveiling, the spiritual atmosphere around you begins to vibrate with a deeper resonance. Archangel Michael stands with renewed authority beside you, his presence signaling that heaven is guiding you into the core of this message. He says you are entering the phase where the hidden meaning behind your recent experiences begins to reveal itself. This is where divine intention rises from beneath the surface, where what felt confusing finally becomes clear, and where the plan God has been preparing for you starts to show its direction. You are not here by accident. You were led to this moment because heaven has determined that you are finally ready to understand what has been forming in silence. Michael reminds you that your journey has not been random. Every season you walked through, every emotional shift you experienced, every moment of uncertainty you survived was part of a spiritual architecture being formed inside you. You were not wandering. You were being guided. You were not abandoned. You were being refined. You were not rejected. You were being redirected. The path before you was shaped through both divine orchestration and personal endurance. Heaven watched the strength you displayed in private moments. Heaven noted your perseverance when weariness tried to consume you. Heaven counted every tear, every prayer, every moment you chose hope over despair. None of it went unseen. None of it went unused. Now Michael says the reason clarity is coming is because you have reached a level of spiritual maturity that allows you to receive what you could not have understood earlier. If God had revealed everything sooner, your heart may have misinterpreted it, or fear may have twisted it, or impatience may have rushed it. But now, your spirit has grown deep enough to discern truth without distortion. You have learned to listen differently. You have learned to feel differently. You have learned to trust differently. These inner shifts prepared you for the revelation you are moving into. In this moment, heaven wants you to recognize the recurring signs that have been circling your life. The numbers that keep appearing. The repeating phrases that follow you. The dreams that echo the same theme. The sudden thoughts that hit your spirit with intensity. These signs are not coincidences. They are confirmations. They are signals that you are walking in alignment with what God has ordained. Michael says these signs will increase as you move closer to the moment of divine instruction. Your sensitivity is rising because heaven is speaking more directly now. There is something else Michael wants you to understand. You have been shedding spiritual weight. Old fears that once shaped your decisions are losing their hold. Old wounds that once dictated your reactions are fading. Old narratives that once controlled your thoughts are dissolving. The heaviness you felt recently was not a setback, it was a release. You were being untangled from emotional and spiritual patterns that would have restricted what God is sending next. You had to be emptied before you could be filled. You had to be unburdened before you could be elevated. Heaven has been helping you shed everything that cannot survive in your next chapter. Michael reveals that God is preparing to shift your foundation. Not destroy it, strengthen it. You may notice a sudden desire to reorganize aspects of your life, refine your priorities, or distance yourself from certain influences. These impulses are not random. They are divine adjustments. Heaven is stabilizing you so that the next revelation lands without shaking your identity. God is anchoring you so that the next instruction does not overwhelm you. This anchoring is necessary because what is approaching will require confidence, clarity, and spiritual groundedness. Heaven also wants you to know that the elevation ahead will not come with chaos. It will come with order. It will come with structure. It will come with a peace so deep that even if the path feels unfamiliar, it will feel right. Divine alignment always comes with confirmation. You will not have to question whether it is God. Your spirit will know. Your heart will settle. Your mind will understand. The pieces will fit in a way that only heaven could orchestrate. Michael says something powerful here. The silence you experienced was not God withdrawing, it was God working. When heaven is rearranging your future, the noise around you quiets. People fall away. Distractions fade. Desires shift. You are pulled inward because something is being constructed in the unseen. Now that the construction is nearing completion, God is preparing to speak again, this time with clarity. The next phase of your journey holds opportunities that will require you to step out of old limitations. You will be asked to trust what you feel even when it contradicts what you see. You will be asked to move forward with courage even when the path is new. You will be asked to release what was never meant to define you. But heaven promises that you will not walk into this alone. Michael is walking with you. Divine protection surrounds you. Heavenly alignment goes before you. What comes next in this unfolding will bring deeper insight into the purpose behind your preparation. It will reveal the reason certain prayers were delayed and certain doors remained closed. It will show you the divine intention behind every redirection. Stay close, because the next part carries a revelation that will illuminate the fullness of the transition you are standing in right now. Trust me, you will want to see what unfolds next. Type "I trust God's alignment for my life" in the comments if this part is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 1221 is now released over your journey. My steadfast soul, as you step into this next unveiling, the spiritual atmosphere around you shifts with a deeper force, as though heaven itself is leaning closer. Archangel Michael stands in unwavering posture beside you, and his presence carries the weight of revelation that has been waiting for the right moment to be spoken. He says you are now entering the portion of this divine message where the architecture of God's hidden plan becomes clearer, where the pieces that once felt scattered begin to form a pattern, and where the silence you once feared reveals its purpose. Your spirit has been stirred for days, weeks, even months, and now heaven is guiding you into the understanding your heart has been reaching toward. Michael reveals that the reason you have been feeling so many internal shifts is because your spirit has been undergoing a profound reorientation. You were being realigned with your original purpose, not the version shaped by pain, disappointment, or survival, but the version God intended from the beginning. This reorientation has not been gentle. Heaven had to pull you out of old cycles, old agreements, old expectations, and old emotional responses. You were stretched. You were pressed. You were emptied. But none of it was destruction. It was preparation. God was clearing your spiritual field so the next season could take root without interference. You may have noticed that your spirit has been responding differently to life. Moments that once triggered fear now trigger reflection. Situations that once brought confusion now bring clarity. The same voice that once felt drowned out by worry now feels louder inside your soul. These internal shifts are evidence that heaven has upgraded your sensitivity. You are not imagining your increased awareness. You are not imagining your heightened intuition. You are not imagining the sudden knowing that drops into your spirit. These are signs of spiritual awakening. Signs that heaven is positioning you to receive the next revelation without missing it. Michael says something powerful here. You have crossed into a realm of understanding that only comes after endurance. Your long battles shaped you. Your hidden struggles matured you. Your quiet prayers refined you. You have grown into a vessel capable of carrying revelation without breaking under its weight. Heaven has been waiting for this version of you, the version grounded enough to receive clarity, steady enough to follow direction, and awakened enough to recognize truth. There is something crucial heaven wants you to recognize. The reason your spirit feels stretched is because you have finally stepped out of the old version of your life. The identity built from pain is no longer the identity you operate from. The mindset built from trauma no longer governs your decisions. The fear-based perspective you once lived in is losing its grip. Michael says the old you is dissolving, not by force, but by revelation. When truth enters the heart, old lies cannot survive. You are not losing yourself. You are discovering yourself. God is preparing to reveal something that will shift your perception in a way you cannot unsee. This revelation will not come to you through chaos or confusion. It will come through clarity, so sharp it feels like light piercing through darkness. It will connect dots you did not know were related. It will expose the meaning behind the season of waiting. It will reveal why certain doors had to remain closed. It will show you why certain connections had to fall away. This revelation will bring peace where you once carried questions. Michael wants you to understand that you are not being rushed. Heaven is not pushing you into something unprepared. Instead, you are being guided into something timed perfectly. You may feel the pressure rising, but this pressure is not stress. It is spiritual momentum. You are being moved toward alignment with every breath you take. Even your moments of stillness have been active in the spirit realm. You have not wasted time. You have not fallen behind. You have been positioned. Heaven also needs you to know that your spiritual heaviness in recent months was not a sign that you were failing. It was a sign that heaven was adjusting the foundation beneath you. When God shifts a foundation, everything on top of it feels unsettled. Relationships shake. Desires shift. Priorities change. Emotions rise and fall. This shaking was not meant to break you. It was meant to settle you into what is stable, authentic, and aligned with destiny. Anything unstable could not come with you, and heaven made sure it fell away. But now you stand on the threshold of something entirely new. Michael says the atmosphere around your life is thick with transition. Heaven is preparing to speak clearly. A door is approaching that only your spirit can recognize, and when it appears, you will know instantly. This is why your sensitivity has increased. This is why you have been hearing more in your spirit than in your mind. Heaven wants you alert, awake, and aware, because what is coming next is too important to overlook. You are entering a moment of divine revelation, a moment that will reveal not only what God is about to do, but what God has been doing all along. As this revelation approaches, your spirit may feel an unusual mixture of peace and anticipation. This is heaven's signal that the time is near. You may feel it as a pull, a stirring, or an unexplainable inner readiness. Honor these signals. They are guiding you into alignment. The next part of this message will unveil the deeper reason behind your long season of preparation, the reason God needed you strengthened, awakened, and spiritually receptive. What comes next will illuminate the path ahead in ways that will transform the way you see your future. Do not look away. You are closer than you think, and the revelation that follows will open something powerful inside you. Trust me, you will want to receive what comes next. Type "I am ready for God's unveiling" in the comments if this part is stirring something deep within you. Blessing code 979 is now released over your spirit. My beloved soul, as you step now into this next unveiling, the spiritual weight surrounding you deepens into something unmistakably sacred. Archangel Michael stands with a presence that feels almost luminous, as though the veil between heaven and your spirit has thinned to its final layer. He says you have arrived at the threshold where heaven begins revealing the why behind everything: the waiting, the struggle, the silence, the shifting, the losses, the redirections, even the strange inner changes you could not explain. This is the moment where divine intention begins rising from beneath the surface of your life, where God prepares to show you what He has been shaping in the unseen. You have walked through the fire, and now you are being shown its purpose. Michael says clearly that your journey has been a carefully woven tapestry, not a random sequence of struggles. There were seasons where you felt forgotten, moments where your prayers seemed unheard, and times when the silence felt so heavy that it made you question whether God was still writing your story. But heaven says this now with certainty: God was not absent, He was constructing. He was aligning the timing of your destiny with the maturity of your spirit. He was waiting for the version of you that could receive, recognize, and steward what He planned to release. You are that version now. You have become someone your past self would barely recognize, not in weakness, but in strength, depth, and spiritual precision. Michael reveals that the spiritual heaviness you once felt was not a punishment, but an indicator of a divine pruning. Heaven was removing what could not support the weight of your next season. There were relationships that could not go with you because they would have weakened your calling. There were opportunities that fell away because they would have shrunk your destiny. There were desires that faded because they were never aligned with the higher plan God ordained for you. You did not lose anything vital. Heaven removed only what would have become a barrier. Everything that stayed, everything that remains, everything you still feel drawn to, these are the things heaven has approved for your next chapter. You may have noticed how your responses to life have changed. You are no longer reacting with fear the way you once did. You no longer cling to things that drain you. You no longer accept connections that do not nourish your spirit. You no longer settle for the same level of clarity or peace or purpose. These changes were not accidental. They were the result of spiritual refinement. God was bringing your internal world into alignment with the future He is preparing to place in your hands. Your spirit was being shaped into a vessel that could carry the weight of revelation without bending under it. Michael says the reason your spirit has felt stretched is because heaven was enlarging your capacity. The plan God has for you requires more space within you, more faith, more courage, more clarity, more surrender, more spiritual awareness. You could not step into this season with a smaller version of yourself that old wounds created. Heaven expanded you. Heaven strengthened you. Heaven deepened you. Now the capacity within you matches the magnitude of what God is sending. There is something vital, that heaven wants you to notice in this moment. The shift you are experiencing is not just a personal transformation. It is a spiritual awakening. The signs you have been seeing, the repeated patterns, the dreams that feel louder, the intuitive knowing that keeps nudging your spirit, these are signals that you are being drawn into alignment with a divine moment of instruction. You are approaching a revelation that will not only make sense of your past, but will direct your next steps with clarity you have longed for. Michael says that what God is preparing to reveal will touch every layer of your life. It will connect dots you thought were isolated. It will bring meaning to seasons you once resented. It will explain why your heart had to be reshaped, why your trust had to be rebuilt, why your spirit had to be awakened. This revelation will not arrive in confusion. It will arrive in clarity so profound that you will feel it settle into your spirit like truth you had known all along but could not articulate. Heaven always reveals purpose with peace. Your spirit may begin to feel it even now, a rising sense that something long awaited is approaching. You may feel a pull, a soft pressure, a quiet readiness that seems unexplainable. This is heaven preparing you to receive divine instruction. You will not miss it. You will not misunderstand it. You will not overlook it. God is going to make it known in a way that your spirit cannot deny. What comes next is meant for you, tailored to you, aligned with your calling, and protected for your future. There may also be moments ahead where you feel drawn away from noise, from distraction, from conversations that once held your attention. This withdrawal is not isolation, it is positioning. God is preparing to speak, and He often clears your environment so that His voice becomes unmistakably clear. Michael says this stillness is sacred. Do not resist it. Listen within it. Heaven often speaks loudest when your surroundings fall quiet. You are nearing the revelation that will prepare you for the final shift of this entire message. The next unveiling carries the weight of completion. It carries the understanding your heart has been reaching toward. It carries the insight God has been waiting to release. You are on the verge of a spiritual awakening that will alter how you walk forward from this moment. Stay here. Listen closely. The next part will bring everything together in a way that will change how you understand your assignment, your identity, and your divine timeline. Trust me, you will want to witness what unfolds next. Type "I await God's final revelation" in the comments if your spirit feels this. Blessing code 611 has now been released over your path. My precious soul, as you arrive at this final unveiling, the spiritual atmosphere around you becomes almost overwhelming in its intensity. Archangel Michael stands before you with a presence that feels both protective and triumphant, as though heaven itself has waited a long time to bring you to this exact moment. He says you are now standing at the culmination of everything this message has been preparing you to understand. Every whisper, every stirring, every inner shift, every sign, every moment of awakening has led to this point. The plan God has for you, the one you could not see, the one that was forming quietly in the unseen, the one that has been waiting for your spirit to mature, now stands ready to be revealed. You are not here by coincidence. You are here because your spirit answered heaven's call. Michael reveals that the journey you've walked has not been random, nor accidental, nor unnoticed by heaven. The struggles that nearly crushed you were actually shaping you. The delays that frustrated you were actually aligning your steps. The heartbreaks that shattered you were actually removing what could not follow you into your purpose. Heaven has been designing your path with a precision that far exceeds what your natural mind could comprehend. You were not being defeated. You were being prepared. You were not being ignored. You were being positioned. You were not being punished. You are being purified for the assignment that now approaches you. God's plan for you, the one you haven't seen yet, has been developing layer by layer in the silence. This plan did not fail when you stumbled. It did not break when you felt weak. It did not disappear when you lost hope. The plan remained intact because heaven never removed its hand from your life. You were protected in moments you didn't even know danger was near. You were guided in moments when confusion tried to take over. You were carried through seasons where your strength was completely gone. And now you stand in a place of readiness. Readiness you didn't know you had. Heaven sees the growth you often overlook. Heaven sees the spiritual authority you have gained. Heaven sees the clarity you have fought to reach. Michael says the revelation you are about to step into will change the trajectory of your life. It will open your understanding. It will lift the weight off your shoulders. It will reframe how you view your past. It will align how you see your future. This revelation will not come through noise or pressure. It will come through a moment of spiritual recognition that hits your spirit with unmistakable certainty. You will know it is God because it will bring peace, direction, and alignment all at once. Heaven does not speak in confusion. Heaven speaks in clarity. Heaven speaks in resonance. Heaven speaks in ways that settle into your spirit like truth you always knew, but could not articulate until now. There is something else Michael wants you to understand. The reason heaven waited for this exact moment to reveal the fullness of the plan is because your heart finally healed enough to receive it. You have released things that once held you captive. You have surrendered fears that once dictated your choices. You have shed identities that once limited your growth. You have opened yourself to spiritual awareness in a way that makes you capable of walking into destiny without dragging the weight of old wounds behind you. You are not stepping into this revelation as the person who broke. You are stepping into it as the person who rose. Michael says heaven is about to bring alignment in ways that will feel supernatural. You may experience sudden clarity about a decision you've wrestled with for years. You may feel an undeniable pull toward a direction you previously feared. You may recognize a divine connection that appears at the perfect time. You may sense an internal shift that feels like a spiritual unlocking. These moments are not coincidences. They are the unfolding of the plan God needs you to respond to. This is why the title of this message is prophetic. God has a plan you haven't seen yet, and He truly needs your response for it to fully activate. The response heaven is calling for is not complicated. You are not being asked to leap without guidance. You are not being asked to figure out the whole journey. You are being asked to listen, to follow, to trust, to say yes. When the moment of revelation arrives, your spirit will recognize it so clearly that hesitation will feel unnatural. Your yes will flow from you like breath. Heaven will meet your obedience with acceleration. The spiritual window referenced in this message is not metaphorical. It is real, and it is open for you now. Michael gives one last instruction as you step into this sacred finale. Do not shrink. Do not question your worthiness. Do not fear the shift when it comes. You have been prepared for this. You have been shaped for this. You have been chosen for this. What God is calling you into is not beyond your capacity. Your journey has built that capacity. Heaven has not brought you this far to abandon you at the door of your breakthrough. The next chapter of your life is not something to survive. It is something to step into with divine confidence. As you move forward from this message, your spirit will begin to feel the reality of what is coming. The prophecy released over you will begin taking form. Heaven will begin aligning circumstances that once felt impossible. You will walk differently. You will see differently. You will choose differently. because you have become different. And heaven has been waiting for this version of you to reveal the plan that was written for your life, long before you ever struggled to believe in it. Now hold still, because this is your final activation. What comes next is not just a conclusion, it is a commissioning. You are stepping into the beginning of the plan God has been preparing in silence, and heaven stands behind you as you walk forward. Before we go any further, like this message, share it so others receive what their spirit is longing for. Comment your testimony and subscribe to stay connected to the prophetic guidance that heaven is releasing in this place. Type "I step into God's plan" in the comments if this final message is awakening your spirit. Blessing code 1100 is now released over your destiny. When God opens a window of purpose like this, He calls His people to spread the light to those still lost in the shadows. Every seed you sow here becomes a supernatural instrument of deliverance for someone praying for direction, someone crying out for confirmation, someone battling darkness in silence. Heaven speaks of harvests born from faithful sowing, of oil poured onto those who carry the word, of rivers that never run dry for those who give from obedience. So I speak this over you now. Your support in this moment becomes a prophetic act that unlocks clarity, protection, and divine acceleration over your own life. I am calling you, spirit, to stand with this mission through super thanks, through membership, or through the PayPal link in the description. This is your moment to respond with faith. Move with boldness, for heaven commands obedience, not hesitation.